Welcome back, fellow cardboarders. Today we're going to look at a budget alternative for the card Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. As most of you know, it's a legendary land which turns all lands into swamps in addition to their other types. And despite its reprint in the new Lord of the Rings set, the card is still at around 40 bucks. Or around 20 to 25 euros depending on condition. We shall see how this changes during the upcoming weeks and months as collector boosters are being cracked to find the one-of-one ring. But there is an alternative which actually costs less than a buck. It's time for another installment of Think Outside the Deck Box. The old vintage card we are gonna look at today is called Blanket of Night. People who have already watched my more recent cardboard haul might have already seen this card. It's an enchantment from Visions and has exactly the same effect as Urborg. It turns all lands into swamps in addition to its other type. On Card Kingdom you can find this card currently for 69 cents. Nice. And the market in Europe looks similarly. Now, of course, it is not an Urborg. I don't want to make the argument that this card is as strong as this. Just playing it as a swamp, a land, untapped is obviously stronger than having to pay 3 mana and being an enchantment, being easier to remove in commander decks. But the case I want to make for this uncommon from Visions, which hasn't been reprinted yet, is not on the reserved list, is that if you want to have an alternative, a budget variant for Urborg, this is the card you should go with. And some commanders actually might even prefer this over that. One of them might be Tatsunari Toad Rider from the new Kamigawa Neon Dynasty set, who wants you to cast enchantments and rewards you with a legendary token and draining life. So this deck you would cast a whole bunch of enchantments anyways, and you get rewarded for that. So that's why you actually might want to play the enchantment rather than the land. Especially when this card is a fraction of the original Urborg. But also, Zur the Enchanter can fetch a Blanket of Night with an attack trigger and can't get you Urborg. Rexiel the Risen Deep prefers Swamp Walk, so giving everyone swamps is just great for it to actually connect with your opponents. So here both of them you would try to include probably. And the fact that only around 1,400 decks play this card that could play it just shows how unknown this card is. So maybe you should give it a try the next time you are planning a black deck to surprise your opponents and just to generally have a budget alternative. You don't need 4 Urborgs if you just maybe want to afford one and don't want to pay for another one until the price comes down again, and maybe you want to get yourself a playset of Blanket of Night. Some obvious inclusions when you play Blanket of Night or Urborg are obviously Nirkana Revenant, Crypt Ghast, but also the budget variant of Cabal Coffers, which is the Magus of the Coffers, which again is not a land but a creature. Dread Presence is a wonderful payoff for you having swamps entering the battlefield, turning all your lands into swamps. Gives you a landfall trigger whenever you're playing any land. Since they are swamps, they will trigger Dread Presence. And lastly, having Filth in your deck, giving all your creatures Swamp Walk, with all your opponents having swamps now on their battlefield, is a wonderful way to sneak your sneaky attackers through your opponent's defenses. I am actually playing Blanket of Night in my Rakdos Traps deck, which I showed off on the channel recently. If you haven't checked it out yet, do check. And now I do want to hear from you guys. Have you ever seen this card? Have you ever tried it? Are you thinking about trying it? Let me know in the comments below. I wish you a beautiful day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.